Welcome everybody to week 13, day 1. Let's see how you guys did on the midterm. I checked the score halfway through the midterm, and the average then was 85%. So let's see if there's a statistical difference between students who take it early and students who take it late. Alright, this might take a while. There we go. Yep, alright. So I guess it is shown then that students who take the test later don't do as well. I don't know. On average, down here, I guess. Okay. So let's go through it. Suppose you're a critical thinker and you hear some outrageous or inflammatory story. What do? You check the primary sources. That's the deal. You gotta believe this story. Believe the headline as being true. But yeah, one of the things I really want to emphasize with you on this class is that the best approach is, like, anytime there's something you're like, I don't know if that's true or not, then click on the story, read. Don't just read the headline. Read the whole story. Click on whatever the source is for the story. If they don't have the source, then I discount it. It's like, nah. So most of you guys got that. 94 people took the test. Good. Nobody forgot. Awesome. 92. 94, yeah. Okay. So this story came out, just while I was writing the midterm. And it said that they're now using AI to detect skin cancer in people. But because they didn't train it on people with darker skin, it's not as accurate on people with darker skin. Who would have thunk it? Yeah, it's exactly what we're talking about. And so what I want from you all when you go out into the world and start becoming professionals and working for companies is just keep that in the back of your mind. Like, hey, maybe we should test our code on people with different skin colors, and maybe, are you sending somebody to horny jail for what? I don't know. I don't get it. Alright. I don't see anything particularly scandalous about this. I mean, that's, I guess, if you're considering that scandalous, I don't know what to tell you. Alright. So, you're all in college, you can deal with it. You just bonk in the head. Okay. Alright. Okay. So, one story of that I don't think I told you was when one of my professors, one of my advisors, they made cruise missiles. He worked for the military industrial complex, as they put it, and they made cruise missiles. And even better than cruise missiles, they made rockets or missiles or whatever that would automatically hunt after tanks. So this was prior to the first Gulf War, to give you an idea of how old my professor was. And so this was prior to 91. Probably not too much earlier than that. But what they were doing was they were training rockets or missiles to recognize a tank. So basically, rather than having to have, like, a person in a plane drop a bomb on someone, what you could do is you just fire a missile. You would fly over the desert. And first time it saw a tank, it would fly down and hit it. So you just kind of blind fire them, and they just kind of go up there and be like, oh, look, tanks. Kind of a neat idea. The trouble is their AI only worked at noon. Couldn't figure out why. Can you unlock the test? See the ones we missed? Can you unlock the test? Yeah, I'll go over that later. So they were really puzzled by this, and they were like, I don't know why. Like, why does it only work at noon? Like, it doesn't even make sense. Like, there's not like it's not like we put the time of day into our algorithm. We just took a bunch of photographs of tanks and fed them into this AI and had it recognize tanks. Here's a bunch of photographs from tanks. Here's a bunch of photographs of not tanks. And for some reason, it will only recognize the tank at noon. Anyone want to take a guess why? Shadows, yeah. Exactly. All of the training photos they took were from directly overhead at noon. And so that was what the AI learned. The AI learned that's what a tank looks like. It's got no shadow. And so if you shot it at 10 o'clock in the morning, it's like, no, that's not a tank. It's got a shadow. Can't be a tank. So, it's not just, algorithmic bias isn't just like a racism thing, although that's, what we've been talking about. Like, you gotta, yeah. And this is like a large defense contractor, and they're just kind of like, okay, It took a while to figure that out too. Because one of the things about AI is you don't really know what it's doing or why. We talked about it before, but there's this notion called discoverable AI or explainable AI, where you get a report from the AI like, this is why I'm targeting this tank, or this is why I'm turning you down for a mortgage or something like that. So you at least have some sort of like notion. If you ever get a credit check, if you ever like Experian trans something or other, you get like a credit check, it'll tell you why you didn't get an 800 on your credit check. Right? Okay, an argument is a claim supported by evidence. Claim supported by opinion. Okay, suppose X is true, Y is false, and Z is false. What is the value of X ANDed with Y or Z? Y is false, Z is false. False or false is false. X ANDed with false is false. For an AND to be true, both left and right must be true. It's no, maybe yes or maybe no. There's no maybe on this one. You guys all second guess yourselves too much. Okay, so you probably gotta review the logic thing, because it's if you're gonna be a programmer, it's pretty important. Like, everything we're doing in this class is relevant if you're gonna be a programmer, but all of it's also relevant if you're not gonna be a programmer. Like, let's say you're in San Francisco and trying to decipher a parking sign, which, true story, I once parked at a place and it had like sign after sign after sign after sign, and it was like this and this, no parking here except on Tuesdays, but if it's a holiday then it's okay. Buses are okay, but also not during rush hour time. And I'm sitting there and I'm just like going through this thing, and I'm like, all right, I can park here. And there's a cop watching me, and I look at him and he's just like, go ahead. And I'm like, all right. So I walk around the corner, go to the pharmacy, and I come back and he left a ticket on my car. I'm like, you son of a bitch. You son of a bitch. Because I look at him, I'm like, is it okay if I park here? He's like, yeah, go ahead. And then the second I'm around the corner, he writes me a ticket. And then he runs away, obviously, because he doesn't want to deal with an irate, giant. So, because in San Francisco, the police are just there for parking tickets. Like, there's no other reason why they exist, as far as I can tell. So, so I write an essay to the parking department, and I'm like, all right, it's truth table time. And I took a photograph of the sign, and I'm like, all right, it is currently Tuesday at 10 o'clock in the morning. This is true, this is true, this is false. And I went through the logic. I'm like, I could park here. And they gave me my money back, which was, like, I think one of, the great miracles of modern age. I don't think San Francisco parking gives you your money back very often. It's not like the city has any money. It's not like they have property taxes or, income taxes on people with any money in the San Francisco area. It's just not true. It's just a revenue collection system. So, yeah. So this actually applied to real life, but also, if you're going to become a lawyer, obviously this kind of stuff comes up all the time in law. If this is true, but there's exceptions to the law as well. If you're going to be really anything, there's rules everywhere, and so understanding the logic really is relevant to your life. Logic's one of those things that everyone should know. Truth table, I did pretty well on this. 98. I'm not going to go through all of them. I'll just do one of them. So Y or Z, true is Y, false is Z. Y ORed with Z, right? So what you do is you just you look at the two columns to your left. So to figure out this one, it's false ORed with true, which is true. So you put a true in there, and then you end it with X. So X is true. True ended with true is true. So G is true. Tucker Carlson criticized Bernie Sanders for saying that not becoming Cuba was horrible. Tucker was engaged in what cognitive bias? So negative perception bias is not it. And the reason why it's not it is because negative perception bias is when we consider negative criticism more impactful to our psyche. That's not what he was doing there. He was saying something negative, but just saying something negative about somebody is not negative perception bias. If Bernie Sanders was like, oh man, I stayed up all night because Tucker Carlson said something horrible about me, that'd be negative perception bias, right? But yeah, it's just kind of like how saying something ignorant is not an appeal to ignorance, you know what I mean? Like, you have to say, I don't know why X, therefore Y, to be an appeal to ignorance. In this case, what he was doing was, and I mentioned this at the beginning of the semester when we were talking about black and white fallacy. With this exact example, actually, I mentioned this, I think, on the first or second week. It was in my notes. Like, whenever I go to the gym or something, I've got my cell phone there, and I watch Fox News on one and CNN on the other, and I always take the treadmills or whatever, like right in between the two, and I read both of them at the same time, because I have godly reading skills like that, and I write down fallacies. They say there. The disruption in toilet paper shows why capitalism doesn't work. There you go. That's the most recent one I wrote down. And so, so what's the retake exam? It's called the final. It's coming up. Don't worry, the midterm is only 10% of your grade. So yeah, so this is called black and white thinking because Tucker Carlson can't allow for any subtlety or nuance. Right? Everything has to be bad. Like, look, I don't like, Stalin, right? Like, Stalin was a horrible, horrible person who made fun of his son for not being able to shoot himself properly when he tried committing suicide. Like, he's a bad dude, and not in like, oh, bad, like, oh, he bad. No, like, he's actually a really bad dude. And, I can come up with good things to say about Stalin. He helped fight Hitler, not like he wanted to, Hitler kind of invaded him, but he kept the Soviet Union together when Hitler was, Operation Barbarossa was coming into, his land. I'd be fairly hard pressed to, find any person or any topic, anything that we really debate about. It's like, there's usually a case to be made for, talking about free will or determinism. Like, you can make a good case for either side. It's black and white thinking is usually the sign of either a simplistic mind or somebody who's just like politically motivated. The girl's real definition when they say I like bad guys only. Just Stalin. Amazing. And so, because I attack Tucker, then I attack Bernie. It's perfectly balanced, as all things should be. So, Goku, nice. Although, I was watching the original Dragon Ball with my daughter. There's a lot of it's a lot dirtier than you would expect for a show about an innocent little boy. Okay, so when Bernie Sanders selects certain negative stories to make capitalism sound extremely horrible. So that act of like cherry picking a story, right? Like so and so tried starting a business and it failed, and that's why capitalism is evil. That's cherry picking. You know, it's not. Or you know, in Goku, yeah, I don't know. Right. So like you can always find like it's kind of like if you go on Twitter, you can find idiots of any political persuasion. So if you want to make the other side look terrible, you just find some rando on the internet who says something stupid, and just put that up on your news program and call that representative of the opposing team, right? Yeah. It's almost too easy, you know. Like anytime I see on the news like somebody like it's not like if they like put Obama's tweet, okay, all right, that's one thing, you know, some represent like somebody who actually represents one of the sides, sure, you know, if they have Bernie Sanders up there tweeting about why we need democratic socialism, okay, it's fine. But when it's just like rando from some random city and they say something random and stupid, I'm just like, they're just, man, that's just the worst kind of cherry picking, because Twitter is such fertile ground for those cherries. I don't know. Red velvet is just red chocolate cake. What is survivorship bias? That is when you only look at when you only look at the successful, right? So whenever you try something, there's going to be people who succeed and people who fail. And if you only look at the people who succeed, you miss out on all the people who fail. It's one of the reasons why a lot of people want to become rock stars, because they don't realize that like 99% of the people who set out in their life to become a rock star fail, right? There's just not that many. Like even like at a minimum, you have to be talented and work hard, and be able to compose and play good music, and be able to get along with people. Like there's a lot of skills you need to become a rock star, and then all that does is it gets you your foot in the door, and then it's just a random roll. I have known many talented musicians, and yeah, it's just like it's a total just crapshoot. You know, it's roll the dice. You know, and some people had huge foots in the door. Like Britney Spears used to be married to this guy from Fresno called Kevin Federline. And he was famous for marrying Britney Spears. And he's like, I'm a rapper. And so MTV's like, all right, we will give you your shot. You can have, a spot on MTV to go rap and prove to the world how good a rapper you are. And he sucked. And so it didn't go anywhere. Yeah. Kevin Federline, yeah. Yeah, so you have to, yeah, it's just, and so people just see the successful rock stars, on TV, and they're like, oh, I could do that. That sounds like a good life. I want to live that life. That's what I'm going to do for my career. And that's survivorship bias, because they never look at the people who try and fail. You need to look at both sides. Yeah, that's not survivorship bias. Although, yeah, if it's kind of related to cherry picking, I guess. But, yeah. Kevin Federline literally looked like a Walmart M&M. Valid and valid sound. X implies Y, not Y, therefore not X. So this is just modus tollens. And I assume it is indeed the case. I added that later on. If you took the test early, that line wasn't there, and I was like, oh, wait, you have no idea of knowing if it's valid or sound, do you? So I added that. I gave points to everybody who answered either valid or sound, if you took it early. But later on, then it does say which one it is. So if X is true, then Y is true, and Y is false. So this is modus tollens, and only 28% of you got that one. So, like I said, review modus tollens and modus ponens. This is the hard one for us to grasp. intellectually. Yeah, remember there's four there's four basic kinds of arguments, right, with implications. X implies Y, X, therefore Y, that's modus ponens. X implies Y, not Y, therefore not X, modus tollens. And then there's the fallacious versions where it's the other way around. X implies Y, not X, implies not Y, that is denying the antecedent. X implies Y, Y, therefore X is affirming the consequent. So those four combinations, like if you're getting these wrong, like just sit down and like hardcore just like memorize them, because guess what, they'll be back on the final. They'll be back. So I'm not letting you guys have an excuse to forget this. That's why all of my tests are comprehensive, and all of my tests go over the topics that I consider the most important, and that's why the most important topics get pushed to the top of the semester, so you have enough repetition that it'll engrave itself into your memory. Okay. Invalid valid sound. Bill Kearney participates in the SCA. Yes, I was at, in fact, an SCA event yesterday, the Renaissance Fair. It was fun. I wonder if a friend of mine posted that photographs of me fighting there. I had some pretty good moves yesterday. Let's see. Tagged. Good morning. Tagged in. So many different notifications. I'll figure it out later. Yeah, but that is true. And you should know that to be true, those of you that said valid, because I gave an extra credit workshop on the SCA. So, even if you didn't attend it. Premise 2, President Obama does not participate in the SCA. As far as I know, it's true. I'm just telling you it's true. Yeah. Therefore, President Obama is not Bill Kearney. Yeah. Sorry to disappoint you all. So, oh yeah, Obama. So it's 50-50 in choosing valid or sound? No. You should know that. You gotta pay attention. Yeah. Valid, invalid, sound. I mean, yeah. Valid, invalid, and sound. X implies Y, not X, not Y. So this is the denying the antecedent version. Okay. So that is invalid. So, again, mostly guessing. So, if you got them wrong, they'll be back. They're coming back. Invalid, valid sound. If you are a man, you have been president of the United States. Not true. Not true. Hillary Clinton is not a man. True. Hillary Clinton has not been president of the United States. Also true. But this premise is false. So this is a valid argument. Let's see. If you're a man, we haven't said anything about women, right? So this is an invalid argument. So if X, then Y. Not X, therefore not Y. It's literally the same one as this one. Yep. And this one is literally the same one as this one. So I gave you first the symbolic version, and then I gave you the text version of the exact same thing. So here's modus, denying the antecedent, and then here's a text version of the same thing. So it's interesting to see. Yeah. It's the same thing. So these two and these two, same thing. Okay. Bill Kearney was Time Magazine's Person of the Year in 2006. That is true. I was a Person of the Year. You looked it up? Good. Jack went to jail, but whom did he finger? Wow. Okay. Yeah. You are Time Persons of the Year 2006. Yep. The magazine cover actually had a mirror on it. So, yeah. You didn't need to look it up because you already knew. Well, thank you. But you guys were all Time Person of the Year too, unless you're 15 years old or younger. Okay. In which case, I apologize for everything. Okay. We have a duty to defend ourselves because all people defend themselves. So it'd be no. Yeah, the key is duty. So that's going to be deontology. And this sort of reasoning about what would happen if the action you take is universal, would the outcome be better or worse? That's a famous like Kantian line. That's Kant in a nutshell. Kant's whole thing was act as if your actions are universals. And so if you want to see if you should act a certain way, just imagine if everybody did it. You know, kind of like when your mom says to you, well, if your friends all jumped off a bridge, would you? You know? I always thought that a bit odd, because why are my friends jumping off a bridge? Maybe they know more than me. I don't know. Is there a fire? Why? So. Smash, smash, smash. That's fine. Hi, I'm Bridge. Yeah, maybe they're bungee jumping. I don't know. Match the thing you do in Scratch. Yeah, so that was just yeah, you guys should do pretty well on that one. 39. Do one thing or another. Orange. That one, in fact. Oh. I apologize if any of you were colorblind. Growing up, I felt like Mr. Rogers was a respected neighbor in my own neighborhood. So that's parasocial relationships. I always want to keep calling parasocial networking just because they say social networking so often. Yeah, so the I this wasn't designed to be like a hard thing. Broadcast a message is right here, yellow. It made you angry because of the logic ones, these ones. Yeah, the trick to the trick to doing something like this is to write it down in symbolic language, right? Because our English brains like get confused and like baffled, or we just look at the conclusion. You're like, yep, that's true. Hillary Clinton's not been president. Sound. Nope. Can't be sound because that's a false premise, right? So. You can't just like leap to the conclusion and be like sound because she was not president. Can't do that. You have to convert it into symbolic language. First, look to see if the form is correct. If X, then Y. Okay. If you're a man, then you have been president of the United States. Not X. Right? Hillary Clinton's not a man. Therefore, Hillary Clinton has not been president of the United States. Not why. That's denying the antecedent. Classical logical fallacy. Okay. Once it's invalid, you can just stop there. But let's say the form was valid. Now you have to look at the premises. Is it true that Hillary Clinton's not a man? That's true. And is it true that if you're a man, you've been president? No. Most definitely not. So one of the premises is false, so that would have been valid. It can't be sound because it's neither valid nor sound, right? Like both of them are wrong. Both the form is wrong and the premises are wrong. Okay. Uh, For valid, the premises could be wrong. That is true. Yeah. So for this one, no, for valid, the logic, if the logic works and the premises are wrong, it's valid. If the logic works and the premises are true, it's sound. But since this is a wrong premise, there's no chance it could be sound. Like the choice is between valid and invalid, right? And to determine if it's valid or invalid, you have to like break down the logic and like work through it. Okay. Each type of evidence, only if it's a priori or a posteriori. So proving the square root of 2 is rational is a priori. That's pure math. You don't need to make an observation of spiders or anything to determine that it's irrational. In fact, it is impossible for science to determine that the square root of 2 is rational. You can't do it. If you tried measuring the length of a diagonal or something, you would never be able to prove that it's irrational, because you don't have infinite precision on a ruler. Prove the form of an argument. So the form of an argument means you're looking at it without regarding the truth or the premises of the premises. That is purely a logical endeavor. Like you could look at this argument here and determine it's invalid without knowing who Hillary Clinton is, what the United States are, knowing if she's a man or not. Like there's no observation that needs to be made. So that's very much a priori also. So proving that an argument is unsound involves actually making an observation. So is Hillary Clinton a man or not? You have to make an observation, like, looks like a woman to me. A posteriori. That's classic. A posteriori means after an observation. Okay. Can't hear me? Hello? 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 Testing, testing. Prove the internal angles of a triangle out of 280 degrees without measuring it. Without measuring it. A priori. If you measured it to prove it's 180, that's a posteriori, because you're making an observation. You're making you got out your protractor or whatever. But if you can prove that it to be true using the powers of mathematics, that's something you do just sitting on your couch at home. You don't need to make an observation to do that. So that's a priori. Do you draw that? Nice. Nice. Why men, Kearney? Yeah, not bad. Not bad. Okay. Very good. Why Min Kearney? What is Min Kearney? Have you programmed an autonomous vehicle in such a way that it would minimize the total number of human lives lost? Yeah, it's nice. The total number of lives lost, that would be utilitarianism, right? So utilitarianism generally tries to minimize harm. Maximizing pleasure, minimizing harm would be... there's all sorts of variants of utilitarianism, but it kind of falls under that umbrella. Ethical hedonism says you maximize pleasure and minimize pain, right? And pain includes things like human deaths, right? And pleasure involves things like human health, things like that. It's not just like, that kind of pain, you know what I mean? So, yeah, that's a classical utilitarian argument. When YouTube's algorithm deprioritizes a stream, i.e. hides it from being found on a search, because the political views of the streamers, that is corporate censorship. That's when, and that's one of the things. Like, there's a bill in Congress right now to allow people to do social media without having an algorithm filtering the results, which is kind of interesting. I don't even know if they can do it. It's like how do you suggest a video without an algorithm to do so? Like, I don't know. So yeah, I don't know. Like, it's. For something like Facebook, like I get it, like you just go back to the old algorithm, which they probably still got sitting around somewhere. Where it just shows you everything your friends are posting chronologically. It's pretty easy. But for YouTube, like suggested videos, I don't know. Like maybe you record what video somebody goes to after the current one. You just write down the top 10 and show those. I don't know. So if somebody watches an Amon Amarth video and then goes to learn about Unreal Engine, which is a thing I typically do, then maybe you'd learn that Amon Amarth, I don't know, like should be followed by Unreal Engine. I don't know. It's a bit odd. The rise of the internet was followed by matching rise in terrorism, classical correlation is causation. Yeah, it probably should have said, therefore, the internet causes terrorism or something like that. But you guys caught on to what I was saying there. Suggest videos without suggesting videos. Yeah. Just the most popular videos. Yeah, I don't know. It'd be interesting to see how they do it. So the NBC did this, by the way. NBC did claim that Kyle Rittenhouse was a white supremacist because he made the OK sign. Like most people do at one point or another in their life. And so because he made a photograph of the OK sign, he's therefore a white supremacist. And they just said it without context. They just said he was caught making white supremacist signs without saying that he was just making the OK sign in a photograph. Classic example of framing. Okay. Where they're taking a situation and trying to slant it to their viewpoint. UN claiming the COVID-19 pandemic was caused by the patriarchy. We talked about that in class earlier. That's a classic non sequitur. Like if you want to argue it, it's fine. Maybe there's a connection there that I'm not aware of, but you can't just be like worldwide pandemic, the patriarchy. So it's a non sequitur. Corporate censorship, no. Equivocation, yeah, that's the only one that really fits there. Supernatural is not real. I mean, have you ever seen a ghost? Yep. Wait, you have? Yes, a cloud of gnats is called a ghost. That's true. That's actually what if you've ever seen like a cloud of gnats like hovering in the street, that's called a ghost. Now you know. You're learning something. And I've seen one. So person B is equivocating here because person A was clearly talking about like a supernatural ghost, like Casper or something like that. And what are gnats? You guys want to see a ghost? That's a ghost. Now you've seen ghosts. It's a giant cloud of gnats. Gnats are like little flies. They swarm around, and so the sunlight's hitting it. It's kind of pretty actually. So that area right there. This is what it looks like from the side. Not quite as pretty that way. A lot of gnats. You've seen a murder before. Yeah. Group of crows, definitely. Okay, so I wanted to figure out how... Yeah, so equivocation is when you use the same word two different ways. This person means like a supernatural ghost. This person is using the scientific term for a ghost. So guys that always try and get in your eye, yeah. But that's one of the nice things about wearing the face masks is you can just like walk through them and they don't bug you anymore. Yeah. Mm-hmm. Yeah. You just kind of you walk around looking like you do that whole dance as you go through them. I want to figure out how these super successful startup founders succeeded, so I asked all the successful startup. That's survivorship bias. So when you only look at people who succeed and not look at people who fail, which is a very common thing we do, news stories, they'll only interview, what was your secret to success? Well, I sold my house, borrowed all the money I could and put it all into a popcorn business. And look at me, I succeeded. You should all do the same thing. Yeah. You got to look at all the people that did that and failed as well. Okay. Write that down. A mental frame that their software is perfect and could safely replace hardware interlocks resulted in what tragedy? Therac 25. Now, if you had said, like, the Boeing 737 MAX, probably award you some partial credit, although it wasn't hardware interlocks exactly on it. The Boeing 737 MAX was very similar to the Therac 25, honestly. Killed more people, too. This is more horrifying because you're literally blasting people with lethal doses of radiation and causing radiation poisoning, where your cells die, but you don't know that you're dead yet. Yeah, that's fun. That's real fun. 91%. Got it, so good. Yeah, Windows 11. I should award extra credit for that, huh? The fact that we take negative criticism worse than positive criticism is negative perception bias. Software piracy. Software bias. I don't know. I feel like some of you are just kind of clicking on things. I can't even imagine how Joe Biden got elected. Therefore, his election fraud. Like I said, I was kind of going after the left a little bit up here. With NBC, embodying the left. So now we're going to go after the right. I can't imagine how Joe Biden got elected. Therefore, his election fraud is an appeal to ignorance. Right? So, if I don't know why X, therefore Y, that is the form of appeal to ignorance. What language am I currently studying? Japanese. I studied Mandarin in the past. I studied French in the past. I've never studied Proto-Indo-European, although it seems like it'd be a good idea to, because as the root language of all languages, I figure you just study that one and then you get all of them, right? That's just how it works. Why learn 50 languages when you just learn one, right? That's big brain thinking right there. I thought you finished Mandarin and Japanese. I am most definitely not finished with either of them. My Mandarin is oddly enough better than my Japanese still, despite having not studied it in a while. But that's just because Mandarin's a much easier language to learn. Mandarin is an easy language to learn. Japanese is not. Yeah. So, say a phrase in Mandarin. Buyao. I don't want to. You went for Indo. That's funny. I don't know. What do you want me to say in Mandarin? Did it go this? Just need to work on the invalid valid stuff. Yeah, that's good advice. It's the logic that's because our English minds deceive us. You have to learn to think like a robot a little bit. Ratio plus you smell in Mandarin. Let's see. Shang is smell in Mandarin, like Shanghong, like Hong Kong. It's the smelly harbor or the fragrant harbor, however you want to put it. I don't know how to say to ratio somebody in Mandarin. The Shangbu Hao or something like that would be like you smell bad. Yeah. Let it grow. Yeah. All right, so say hello. Ni hao. That's your typical like ni hao Kailan, right? Means hello Kailan, right? That's the kind of thing everyone knows, right? Curse words. I'll give you a Cantonese one. Cantonese has much better curse words than Mandarin. Is pokai, which means like fall down in the street, which to us sounds just kind of like funny, but man, don't say that. Fall guys, yeah, exactly. Yeah, don't say that. Ratio in Japanese, hiritsu. In Mandarin, biru, or something like that. It's funny. Hiritsu. Interesting. Yeah, no, I have a book around here somewhere of Cantonese slang, and man, it's an entire book of Cantonese slang, and almost all of them are like, some are pretty good, actually. Yeah, I'm not going to repeat them on recordings, though. Yeah, my wife hates that book. Yeah, it's got to. Yeah, that's the book right there. It's so good, so good. Absolutely horrible. Don't read it. All right, well that's it for today, guys. We will start studying set theory on Wednesday. It's the big topic that we have not covered yet. So we will do set theory, and that'll take us a couple classes, and then at some point we need to get into the final essay. So I'll probably intersperse that somewhere. Okay? Reverse psychology wants you to read it. if you do, even if you don't like have any intention in reading Cantonese, like just like reading about the insults and like how they're phrased, like Cantonese is it's cool. You know, that's the whole thing about Cantonese. It's just cool. So I say this to you with unvarnished factualism of plain talk. I love arena mode, Abraham Lincoln, second anarchical address. All right. I'll see you guys later.